Hey, how you guys doing? It's produced from Brothers Comics. Welcome to our House of the Dragons with an S recap show. We are jumping into season 2, episode 2. It's a skeleton crew tonight. Just me and Lady Dragonstone. Lady Dragonstone, say what's happening.
Hello, everybody. Konnichiwa. What's going on?
Yes, Brother Beavis is not, or Grand Maester Beavis is not with us tonight. He will probably join us back after episode 3, down the road a little bit. But we wanted to get this out before episode 3 premieres tomorrow. We're a little bit late, obviously, on that. There was a little bit of a thought of actually just doing it right before the show came on, but I didn't really want to do that either. So we'll get into episode 2 coming up. And again, as I said at the beginning of the last show, got to accept this show for what it is. That's kind of how I've been looking at it. And episode 2 for me was pretty much the same. What did you think, before we go over the whole part for episode 2? What were you thinking?
I liked it. I didn't think they were going to do what they did. It was kind of rushed in a way, but also kind of not.
Mm-hmm.
It's different from what I kind of know canonly as the book timeline, but
Mm-hmm.
I think the switch is actually what's going to happen in this coming episode tomorrow. But I did like this one. I definitely
With
think
the,
Emma Darcy Rhaenyra's definitely stood out this episode, which I liked.
yeah, with only 8 episodes, and we're going in episode 3 tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
night. Like you got to worry a little bit about the pacing.
Mm-hmm.
That things have happened, and I will get to the end of this kind of seeing a pattern here, but we'll talk about it in a second. That you're already almost halfway through. You've got a lot of ground to cover.
Mm-hmm.
So, at some point in time, this is going to start to accelerate like season 7 and season 8 of Game of Thrones did. That was just moving at this fantastical pace. Well, 7, at least 8 was a glacier, but 7 moved at this glacier, this huge pace. And it was like you couldn't even catch your breath because there were so many things going on. And, you kind of wonder if this is going to pick up a little bit, but not rush through things. It
Mm-hmm.
seems like there's a lot going on that they're trying to get in that they're just dropping little hints of, and which is fine, but you got to pay that off. You can't pay it off in season 3, some of it.
Yeah, how they're pacing this, from what I can tell, and from what people on Reddit are saying from alleged leaks or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
from what I can tell, is they're cramming some of the most like intense stuff into the second season, some of the coolest like battles and whatever.
Right.
And it does kind of make me wonder, I was like, y'all got renewed for a season 3 already. What are you guys gonna do for the third season of the show? There's
Yeah.
one battle that is very, very iconic that I know people are gonna want to see, but after that, it's like it kind of enters like kind of Daenerys off on her side quests before she ends up coming to Westeros territory. It's like it's there, but it's kind of boring
Okay.
because it
All right.
ends
Well,
so
let's jump.
easily.
Let's jump into this episode and see what's going on. So we open up with chaos in the keep.
Mm.
In a silent, slow motion version, as you see the bloody blanket of the prince being brought out and seeing people get rounded up, by the king's guard. And, it's just chaos all around, as word of the death of little Prince Jaehaerys has spread to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Again, lots of chaos, and King Aegon is, furious, as he knows that his legacy has been killed, and he lays it at the foot of Queen Rhaenyra. The title of this episode is Rhaenyra the Cruel, and there's just so much going on in this scene, as they're dealing with the aftermath of the prince's off-camera death.
Yeah.
So we're trying to, giving Aegon something to talk about, giving Aegon something to do, giving him a chance to flash his anger is something that, we've
Mm-hmm.
only seen him be foolish, which will come up later. This is an opportunity for this actor to shine and shoot some scenery a little bit. What'd you think?
I I have very mixed feelings about the characterization of Aegon, mostly because they spent so much time making in the first season making this feud about Alicent and Rhaenyra. Whereas in
Mm,
the books, I mean, despite their age gap, I think there's like maybe a 10 or 11 year age gap between them in the book, and I think that's kind of reflective in the show. It might be like 14 in the show because they aged Rhaenyra up so much. But
yeah.
it feels like this internal battle consistently between Alicent and Rhaenyra. and it kind of like makes Aegon like the side character, whereas
Mm,
Allison is kind of just like sitting in the center of it. But I think he did Tonglin Carney, which is the actor's name who plays Aegon. I think he did a really good job. It's like I almost felt bad for him,
yeah.
almost, which
Till
I
you
just can't.
realize he's an absolute jackwagon. Yeah.
And a whole ass
I,
rapist. But I
yeah.
think he did a really, really good job. So
And again, it's it's always good to open up the scene, kind of quiet. After all, you can see the chaos around. You don't need all the sound there. There's a good directorial cut between that. But the Greens are terrible people, y'all. Like flat out. There's
Lord
just
have
no getting
mercy.
around it.
I can't stand
Yeah,
Allison. I
they're
can't.
just terrible people. So the death of the prince happens. Obviously, that's terrible for Helena. That's terrible for Allison. It's terrible for King Aegon. That's all of that. But Otto's like, yeah, that was bad. It's my grandchild and all, but we could use this for political points. And
Mm-hmm.
like his grief, air quotations, his grief is brief. Actually, I don't think there's any grief at all, to be honest with you. He's already moved on to how they're going to use this to turn, families
Mm-hmm.
towards the Greens, turn back towards, to King's Landing. Whereas, we'll get into it here in a minute, but man, he's just a terrible person. Like Otto, understanding him being the hand and what that's supposed to do and what that means. But
Mm-hmm.
man, not even a brief second to like even mourn the death of his
No,
grandchild.
he immediately jumped into political action, and I think Otto kind of works best. I mean, he plays the Game of Thrones very well because he works well being passive.
Mm-hmm.
People that play the game very passively are typically the people that will win it. Sansa, Littlefinger for a moment of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like people that are very overt, that are very violent, kind of destructive. Daemon, season 8 Daenerys, like those kind of things, they will lose the game very quickly. He is a very passive politician.
Right.
So you kind of see if you kind of look at it from the, oh, I see what you're doing here perspective, yes, but like I mean his whole daughter was crying in front of him about the loss of her grandchild and his great grandchild,
Yeah.
and she's just like, this may yet work in our favor. And it's like
Yeah.
Allison is his spawn essentially. Like
Yeah.
she
Eh,
is a literal political pawn for him, and she kind of like gets her
mhm.
into this web, and it's like Aegon's immediately like into scene. He's like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have my kid be a freaking spectacle. And then
Right.
she convinces him to do it, and then forces Helena into it. It's awful.
Yeah, it's bad. And Aegon and his blame, and he's like, Sir Kristen, where were you? I'm a bed. And like, wait, from Community? No, like he was in bed. We all know that he was in bed with Allison,
With your
but
mama.
everybody doesn't quite know that yet. But yes, he convinces them. It's like, hey, we should have a public funeral. This will be a good idea. The common folk will love us for this, to get a chance for them to, say goodbye to the little prince, as well as turn public opinion against Rhaenyra as Rhaenyra the Cruel. And yeah, you said it before, Helena, I don't want to do that. Allison, absolutely not. This is not something that we want to be a part of. But yeah, Otto thinks it'll bring those undecided houses that they're trying to gear up for this war, that'll bring those and the common
Mm-hmm.
folk towards the Greens to turn public sympathy against Rhaenyra, who again has obviously a public right to that throne and had it stolen from her, and they think this will turn the favor. I mean, again, terrible grandfather, terrible father, terrible great grandfather, but as a hand and as a political move, I mean, it's a great thing. They're just terrible people.
Oh, it's genius. The use of propaganda here is
Yeah.
eerily kind of familiar, but also very much so genius.
Hmm. I
And
mean,
it's awful.
yeah, yeah.
So
There's a modern
funny.
politic to it where you could see this playing out in modern politics. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, this was so terrible that this happened, but we could blame this particular person, this particular cause, this
Mm-hmm.
particular whatever to advance a particular agenda. I mean, yeah, I bet that's as old as politics in itself. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So we do get the public funeral, for the small folk, I believe they call them, not the
Yeah.
not the commons. It's for the small folk. It's through King's Landing, and it works, because the small folk to them are uneducated, they're easy manipulated, and
Mm-hmm.
and they start shouting this, the Rhaenyra the Cruel, it's so
Mm-hmm.
terrible, she's awful, all of these types of things. I definitely thought the little princess head was about to pop off though.
The entire internet thought that with you, and then I
Yeah.
went and watched the behind the scenes thing. It's not the actual kid; it's a clay casting,
Mm,
so it's not the actual kid. But them damn stitches are so fucking thin. Like I'm
mm.
looking at the picture right now, I was like, that kid's head was about to fall off, and I was like,
Yeah,
no, don't show me that, please.
it looked well. The Game of Thrones, his head's definitely popping off. Not on this show though, but it looked like
Oh yeah.
his head was just so wiggly and wobbly. I was like, oh lord, it's
And
about
like
to
it's
fall
like
off.
cobblestone streets. It's like walking around in
Yeah,
London,
yeah,
so you just
yeah. It
see the
was
bumps
pretty
of
terrible.
everything.
Oh my god, I was like,
Yeah.
it was a little head fall off.
I
And
will
again,
say
go
I
ahead.
will say the scene between Allison and Helena, where she's essentially telling her there's going to be a funeral for Jaehaerys. They
Mm,
want us to ride behind him in a wagon, and she's like, "I want to do that," and she's like, "I
yeah,
don't either." And
yeah.
she's essentially trying to. I mean, technically, Helena is the queen consort.
Mm,
Technically, I'm Team Black here. I don't know what you or the Grand Maester are, but I'm
mm.
Team Black. So,
Who the hell is Team Green? There's not a redeemable person there.
dude, I need you to get on House of the Dragon Twitter. You
There's
know how
not a
many people are Team Green? Infuriating
That's the
individuals.
people that vote for Trump. Who the
Yes,
hell
they
is Team
are.
Green?
Many
Lord,
people.
that's the people that cheer for the Empire in Star Wars.
Yes,
Who the hell is Team Green?
so many people. You
Oh
have
my
no idea.
god, that's
But
awful.
yeah, so you kind of there's the scene, obviously, I think in episode either 6 or 7 of season one, where it's like where Allison attacks Rhaenyra with the knife. It's the where is the duty? Where is the sacrifice of everything?
Mm,
And it's like it's kind of her giving her this kind of like low key generational trauma pep talk,
mm-hmm,
kind of telling her to be like, oh, yep, you have to do this. It's like you have to do this for our like own political thing. Not to mention that this kid's never really lucid to begin with,
mm-hmm.
and now I doubt she's even lucid because she literally just her son just died.
Yeah.
But and I also like you kind of get like a little bit of a look into Helena's room. You got it at the end of episode 1, but you get it here as well. You get the thank you people on TikTok for pointing this out. I cannot take credit for it. You get to kind of see the I don't know if you watched the behind the scenes thing, but since Helena was queen, she moved into Allison's old rooms, and they moved
Yeah.
Allison into Rhaenyra's old room. So she's
Right.
doing the diddly in
Uh,
Rhaenyra's room with Criston after everything that happened in
yeah.
season 1. Hilarious. But you kind of get to see her
Dirty
room
boy.
was the only one that was kind of redone.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to see like she has her scribblings on the wall of all of her dragon dreams,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
it has like her little prophecies. Like it has one the goose. I think it's like the goose will fight each other and both will die. And it didn't make sense when I first saw it in the behind the scenes stuff. But then it's like the symbol of House Cargill, which is the Cargill twins, is a goose.
Mm.
And she also there's also one of like a naked lady emerging from flames with like a dragon on her shoulder, Daenerys.
Yeah. Boy. Wow.
There's a there's like a wolf head on a body, Rob
Mm-hmm.
Stark after the Red Wedding. Like there's like a lot of little Game of Thrones details in there
Okay.
and a lot of
Wow.
foreshadowing that I thought was really cool, and you get to see it in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And like she's just like predicting everything. I didn't see no damn Bran the Broken sitting the Iron Throne, thank the
Well,
Lord.
there's that. Well,
But
he's still flying around. You know.
he's in the freaking tree.
Yeah. All right. Wow. Yeah. I mean, again, I just thought, again, a great version of propaganda by the Greens here, but
Mhm.
just terrible people that they are. That's just awful. All
Yeah.
right. So let's go to the blacks. Always cheering for the blacks. Oh, the shock that is. All right.
Oh, he's
So,
pissing me off.
so the death of the prince reaches Dragonstone. The title of this slide is you see what had happened was um because it gets to them and Queen Rhaenyra is distraught. She's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this particular happened thing. They're calling me Rhaenyra the Cruel. Who could think that I would do some shit like this after my son died the way that he did?" And then Queen or Princess Rainey's kind of side eyes Damon at first, like, you did that shit,
Oh,
and
you
he's got like this
bitch
shit
ass.
eating look on his face, like, well, maybe you see
Uh,
what had happened, and then finally, and then his wife, niece, is defending him, like, oh, you know what? Who could have done that, Damon? Who do you think could have done some shit like this? Isn't this terrible? And he's like,
and
I,
you see it on her freaking face. You see it
yeah,
when she sits down after she yelled at that dude. You see her like kind of turn to him. She's like kind of looking at him for help because like he's being way too damn quiet. And then
yeah,
you literally see it on her face when she realizes he pulled this shit. And it's like,
yeah,
oh my
it's
god.
awful. And as Alvaro's eyes start to turn on Damon, you know, I oop. And yeah, so it leads to this epic fight. So when Emma D'Arcy wins their Emmy,
Yeah. Oh
they're
my
gonna
God. Yeah.
roll tape on this scene. Like, I mean, she's they, sorry,
They.
they are amazing in this,
Mhm.
acting toward the force. Damon really doesn't have much to do here. He does get a chance to go off on some anger there. I mean, Damon, like Matt Smith, the actor, and he
Mhm.
does get a chance. And their fight really is just a summation of their entire relationship. You know, I can't trust you. I never could trust you. You've always looked out for yourself. You didn't really give a shit about me.
Mhm.
His is like, you stole my crown, bitch. Like, it should have been me. My brother passed me over for you because it should have been me because I would have outshone you. I would have done better than you. That's why he was jealous of me, so he gave it to
Correct.
you. And it's just back and forth between the two of them. A mostly her, Rhaenyra carrying it, but Damon giving for what he does. And then, he decides to leave and he leaves on his dragon after he goes past his black daughter and, says nothing to her. And, that's
Bela.
it. Full armor on his dragon. He's obviously probably going to. I mean, the fight has always been the Riverlands or whatever.
He's going to Harrenhal. In the book, when Blood and Cheese happens, he's already taken Harrenhal. He's there, which is what I think is probably going to happen tomorrow night. He
Okay.
takes Harrenhal, and that's when Aegon gets all scared, like, oh shit, I think I could lose this war.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but a great acting scene between the two of them more
Yes,
than anything.
those two are definitely, I think the only correct word to describe the way Emma Darcy and Matt Smith work together is electric.
Hmm.
What they did was incredible, and it's 100% carried by Emma Darcy. They definitely, I think, understand the frustration of Rhaenyra, mostly because, I mean, he kind of screwed her over here. And though technically, if we're going by technicalities, it's not his fault,
Right.
but he should have said, don't kill no damn kids.
Well, I
He
saw
should have
something.
said, don't kill no damn kids.
I saw on the internet when in that episode where he doesn't, where it cuts away, where he tells them what to
Yeah,
do.
he
Yeah.
doesn't say it. It's never implied that he says it, but but he technically does not say it,
Right.
so he
Yeah.
didn't. But it's like
But
he probably should have been a bit more clear.
well,
Some
yeah,
shit
you're dealing with common folk here,
some
so
bitches don't know vocabulary.
yes, exactly. And they, it's fine. And again, it could be like, kind of plot armor too, where it's like, well, it gets us to this point because we needed that to happen. Of
And
course, it
that
happens in the
yeah,
book, but, we can leave it this open thing here as if it was, to give him an out if we needed to give it to him
and
later.
there comes the a little bit of annoyance is what I mentioned last week is that this show is not comfortable with letting there be a freaking villain.
Yeah.
Damon meant that shit. He said go kill one
Yeah.
of those damn two kids.
Right.
Damon meant that shit. He literally went and got Luke's body out of the ocean and carved his eyes out.
Hmm.
Like that's why they don't find his body. Like the need to consistently make everything a
Gray.
miscommunication to make something in shades of gray to make morally gray characters when you
Hmm.
have a perfect morally gray character in Damon in the book,
Right.
whereas you could just pass it off. He hates the Hightowers. He freaking hates Alicent,
Yeah.
and but he loves his kids. He loves Rhaenyra. That's kind of it because he's a very good father in the books. He's not
Well, hmm.
kind of ignoring his black daughter in the hallway.
Yeah. Well,
But
again, the show Game of Thrones worked best when there were clear villains.
antagonists, right?
Like the seasons revolved around like a particular villain. And so when you have this where again there should be no choosing sides here. I think I used a wrestling reference the last time we had this conversation. Like it works best when there's bad guys and good guys. When it gets to be shades of gray, like nobody knows who to cheer or boo against, and that becomes wrong. I mean, there's no cheering for Team
Yeah,
Green. Like that's just
that's
cheering
kind of,
for the
and I
Empire.
understand what they're doing, kind of, because that's technically the point in the book. George R. R. Martin, he always says, he's like, it's supposed to be 50-50 split between Team Green and Team
No.
Black. He always says, like, I never pick a side. Whenever somebody asks him, I never pick a side. He never gives a definitive answer. It's like when they ask him when the Winds of Winter is going to come out.
Yeah,
Motherfucker
never
doesn't
a
know.
definitive answer. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, yes, it's like, oh, he killed Luke, but Aemon took his eye, so we understand why. But Luke took Aemon's eye, so we understand why he killed Luke. But it's kind of meant to operate in shades of gray,
Mm-hmm.
but with the malice of intention
Right. Okay.
and the kind of cowardice of hiding behind misplaced intentions in the show. It's like, you are not going the extra reach to make me be able to hate somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't like Aegon, but if you had made him throwing a party after Aemon got back from Storm's End,
Ugh, we're
I
about
would
to
hate
get
him
to that.
more.
Yeah, we're about to get to Amon here in a second. Oh yeah, yeah,
I got a great
yeah.
joke there.
Sir Kristen, Sir Kristen is a whole ass bitch. All
Oh, let's
right.
get into it.
So as he was abed with Troy and abed in the morning, he, like he feels guilty. I mean, you can tell that he feels guilty about what happened, and I don't think he feels
Projection.
guilty. Yeah, I don't. Well, I don't think he feels guilty because of like, oh, I was not on my watch or whatever, and this happened. I don't think he feels guilty about being with her when it happened. I just think he feels guilty that everybody's blaming him for not being there when it happened, or being someplace like that. That's what I think he feels bad
Yeah,
about.
textbook narcissism.
Yeah, it doesn't think so. Allison comes to him and it's like, you know what, we can't do this anymore. We can't do this anymore after the funeral,
So
and
they say.
then instead of taking that in, processing it, you know what, I feel a certain way. No, he becomes a whole bitch and then goes into Sir Erryk. That's the A Erryk. He goes to Sir
Yeah.
Erryk and bullies him into this bullshit plan. Like, all right, we're gonna do a open Trojan horse here. You're gonna go in. You're gonna pose as your brother, the Dragonstone. You're gonna sneak in. You're gonna kill that bitch, the queen. What? And Erryk is like, what the? You're sending me to my death.
Mm-hmm.
And then he literally says that, essentially guilts him because, like, oh, you have no honor. And he's like, you have no honor. Like, you
What's
got this
up with you,
position
man?
now. Like, what's that? But Erryk, being this good soldier,
He
he
reverse
accepts this
psychologied
plan.
him into his death,
Yeah,
literally.
he accepts this as the good soldier and to do what he's going to do, and accepts this bullshit plan, which we'll come back to at the end. So
This is
it's a
my favorite.
suicide mission. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
DB. This is my favorite, like, from the thing in the book where it's like, again, the history book aspect of it, where they have what happened
Hmm.
and they kind of mix in some show plot writing. This has got to be my favorite one. Because, dear God, do I hate Sir Criston Cole. I
Yeah,
hate Sir Criston Cole like Kendrick Lamar hates Drake. I would be in there dropping multiple songs in a day, too.
for
I
sure.
can't stand him. I hate Book Him even more because Book Him was creeping on Rhaenyra when he was like 40.
Hmm.
But so this was definitely my favorite, like, kind of, let's add a little bit of something in there moment.
Yeah.
It is the terrible irony. It's like when he walks up behind him, bro's just peacefully trying to eat his lunch.
Yeah.
And it's
He's like, I'm
like,
tired, man. I got to get some rest. And like, nah, eating is not for you right now.
yeah, no, it was because his cloak was dirty and he saw like his white cloak. It's like the symbol of our purity. Bitch,
Hmm.
our chastity. What?
Yeah,
Our
yeah.
fidelity. Dude.
Yes. Yeah, he's now again, but see, there's the thing. Oh, well, he's a villain. Yeah, but he's a tertiary villain. It's not like he's like the main villain here. He's not,
Yeah.
he's not. He
Yes.
isn't.
Yeah.
He's like a third. He doesn't have any real power, so you can't
Yeah.
really treat him as the villain. He
I
has
will
a
agree.
little bit of
Yeah.
power, but he doesn't have any real power. It's
He is
like,
he's a side villain. He's like, what? I'm trying to think of a character. I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of a Game of Thrones equivalent to him because I don't really think there is one, or at least if there is one, I can't think of it off the top of my head because I can't watch that show anymore. But like the main villain should be someone within the Targaryen clan,
right.
not a member of their council that nobody likes. There are team black people, there are team green people, and yes, there are team green people. They exist.
Yeah.
The one universal person that we all agree that we don't like is Sir Criston Cole.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, and good for him, And I think if I saw on the internet properly this week, he was getting all this hate
Yeah,
stuff
he
on
was
his
getting the
Instagram and
dog food
all that
treatment.
to the
Yeah,
point where he had to deactivate because
he turned
they
off
were,
his comments. I did see.
yeah, which is insane. Okay, like I hate him too, but I'm certainly not going to go to his Instagram page and be like, "You a bitch, you a whole ass bitch, Sir Christian." I mean, he's an actor or whatever.
Leave Fabian Frankel alone,
Yeah,
please.
there's an old Dave Chappelle joke, where he would say about, why when you watch movies and TV shows, and they'd be like, oh, what's the phone number? 555-5555. Because you can't use real phone numbers because somebody we put the number in there, be like, hey, can I speak to freaking Sir Kristen, please? Because people are just so invested in this idea that these people are real. And it's the same, in a social media age, like, there are
Yeah, it's
actors that I like, don't like, or whatever. I'm certainly not going to go to an actor I don't like and get on their page and start calling them names for the character that they're playing on television. That's insane behavior. I'm sorry. That's insane. All
Yes.
right,
He
let's
plays
move.
insufferable a little bit too well.
Yeah, that's great. Good. He's a good actor or whatever. But I mean, you don't need to be bullying people
Yeah,
off of
no,
social media
100%. Y'all
because
bullied freaking Joffrey out of acting.
yeah, dropped out of acting.
And
This
he's
is awful.
apparently one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your
Yeah,
life.
it's awful. Just be for being good at your job. All
I have
right,
I have a Harry Potter joke here. In the
naked
Harry
Aemon.
yes,
Go ahead.
in the Harry Potter movies, there's a scene where they kind of show like Voldemort, like when not when he's Tom Riddle, but
Mm-hmm.
Voldemort when he's white and without a nose is
Mm.
kind of what is referred to as fetus Voldemort. I saw
No.
someone on the internet comparing that to this.
Mm.
Thank you, God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why
I'm
was this
calling
scene here?
naked man. Naked man.
Make him
Yeah.
on. Make him.
Naked man. Naked Amon. He goes to his favorite brothel after all of this, to get consoled by his favorite sex worker. Uh, that
Who's
he,
also like at least twice his age, minimum.
yeah, and he feels bad. I know why he's naked, why he's doing fetal position with the sex worker. I
Yeah, I
don't
got
know.
something about this
And
one.
he's all, well, they bullied me when I was a kid, blah, blah, blah. Come on, man.
And
You're a
for the
grown
record, because
man.
of your lack of belief of Team Green people, there are definitely Team Green believers that will justify the murder of Lucerys because they made fun of him as a kid, even though it was Aegon the whole time that was like being the ringleader of making
Yeah.
fun of his brother.
This scene didn't make any sense to me. Was we were watching it, you were like, and this is our gratuitous butt scene because
You're
that's
supposed
what
to
we
do.
only get now is butts. We get none of the other stuff, no other naked. It's only butts. And so when they go to the brothel, and again they go with the slow mo as they go to the back of the room. I mean, that part, whatever. It's gratuitous. It's fine whether you showed it or whether you didn't. But him being naked with his therapist, yeah, that's all kinds of ethical and moral violations. We all know from the
Oh,
therapist points
someone
of
call the
view.
police.
Yeah, no, you got to call the state board and get her license revoked. Is what you need to do. But I mean, again, as we said on the last show, you have a perfect person here that could be the villain to carry through all this stuff, even if Aegon's a crazy, irresponsible idiot, or all these things that his
Dude.
grandfather's going to call him here in about 5 minutes. If
Oh,
he's all of that, you could still have him just be the flat out muscle to carry out and do all the things that nobody else wants to do. Whether he
yes.
does them under their orders, their implications, like Damon does, or he's a freaking, a wild card and just does it, because he wants to. Like
Yeah,
that's you
yeah.
could
The
give
irony of
your
that is that's what he is in the book.
yeah.
From what I see of future trailers, that's definitely what he's going to become,
Mm,
unless they misconstrue it and make his craziness
right.
logical, which I hope they don't, because his craziness is so vitally entertaining.
So that would mean something needs to break him. Like what's going to be the straw camel back situation?
I honestly
Because
thought we were gonna get a scene where, because obviously there's the scene in this episode where Aegon tortures Blood, because
hmm
Cheese is the one that was able to escape.
yeah.
Um, where he's like, "Hey, he told us to kill Aemon, but we went and killed your son just because
hmm
high towers, all y'all the same." I thought there was definitely going to be a scene where it's just like between Aegon and Aemon, which I actually would have really wanted to see. They were here for you. This wouldn't have happened if you didn't do this dumb shit.
Right.
Like I thought that would have actually been a pretty decent scene,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
then it kind of lets him know that it's like no one really has my back here. My mom doesn't have my back. Kristen's gonna listen to the king.
hmm
Otto definitely doesn't have my back because he's tired of my
No, that's
shit.
right. Yeah.
I think that would have definitely been a really cool scene. But they have the HBO people. They have like a rewatch podcast hosted by like a really big fan of just Game of Thrones, HBO,
hmm
like the whole universe in general. Because you get two sex scenes in this episode. One at
Next
the end.
episode. Oh
No, in
well.
this episode. There's two
Right.
episodes.
Yeah. I mean, again, this isn't really a sex scene. This is,
Yeah, you just kind of get the implication of it at least.
yeah, naked therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awful.
The point that they made, which I can't take credit for because I heard them talking about it, was kind of how in Game of Thrones a lot of the sex was just kind of mindless. It was there without thought.
Oh, it's gratuitous. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Glencarney talked about this. The actor that plays Aegon, he would he criticized Game of Thrones for having sex scenes without purpose, without meaning, just to make it
Mhm.
appeal to a male audience, and
Right.
then the internet decided to cancel him.
Oh boy. Yeah.
But it's not working. And so what they were talking about on the show was that it kind of it has a meaning. His consistent going back to this lady that happens to be an older woman that was
Mhm.
in the brothel that he had sex with when he was 13.
Yeah.
That's in season 1. But it's kind of like his consistent need for just a nurturing figure. Because
Yeah. Well.
despite Allison's weird love and connection with him,
Mhm.
it's not actually a relationship. Her kids were just, I think, instruments for her to pass on
I
whatever
mean,
frustration she had with Rhaenyra onto them.
he's Prince Harry. He's spare. I mean,
He
it
is Prince
is
Harry.
what it is. So I mean, that's what he is. So all right.
Yeah.
All right. And now, all right. I'm gonna think that I think this is the next slide. I'm gonna go to this slide, and I'm gonna put you on a time clock here
Oh, dare you.
because, well, because I want to make sure that we don't go crazy here. So
Mm.
I call these the Randerosies, not Westerosies. These are the random folks that are showing up in this show in an 8 episode season that they have given really nothing for you to sink your teeth into about their
Mm-hmm.
characters. It's just planting seeds, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we're going to be on episode 3 out of 8 here momentarily,
Yeah.
and you haven't really done much. So, all right. So Hugh the
You
blacksmith is
want to
one.
know who they are
Yeah, you're going to tell me their importance in 3 minutes or less,
without
and
spoiling it, or like
well, without spoiling.
egregiously? Well,
Yeah,
then I can't
and
do it because then it's just
okay,
gonna be
and the
random.
blacks. Now that they're not
The
on. Well,
blacks.
actually, they are technically on Team Black too. But the blacks
Okay.
of Driftmark with the brothers Alan and Adam. So
I
without
haven't been
spoiling for people that are listening to this after they watch the episode, so we don't want to spoil too much because most people didn't read the books, obviously.
clearly.
What is the
Um,
importance of Hugh? He was in episode 1. He was like, "Hey man, we're making all these weapons and y'all ain't paying us shit.
mm,
We need our money." And then the Black brothers were essentially, "Hey man, Corliss owes you and us, so we need to call in that favor at
listen.
some point in time." So go.
Okay, to
Less
start with
than three
Adam.
minutes.
Oh my god. Okay, to start with Adam and Alan Valerian. Okay, so Hugh, Adam, and Alan are all Valyrian bastards. They're half Valyrian, they're half Targaryen, or they're half Valarian. So you're going to see it in episode 3. I saw it in the trailer. Jace comes up with this plan. They need more dragons to win this war.
Mm-hmm.
So his plan is to get what is called dragon seeds, which
Okay.
is only Targaryens can ride dragons, only people with Valyrian blood. So his plan is to get these half Targaryens to be riding the unclaimed dragons that are on the Dragon Mount at Dragonstone. And
Okay.
that's what these 3 people are going to be.
Okay.
So Hugh, that's why he has the white hair. He's half Targaryen. He's a bastard.
Okay.
Adam and Alan Valerian, their parentage is somewhat dubious in the books. In the show, it's very clearly obvious. Those are, if it hadn't been figured out yet, those are Corliss's kids. Are
Okay.
his bastards.
Mm.
I
Oh,
don't,
okay.
don't
I
think
didn't know.
Bernice knows about their existence yet.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
gonna
Well,
find that out though.
yeah,
But
because they're not biracial for sure.
yeah,
So yeah.
I would just like to point out in the book when he is confronted with that information, Corlys be like, "Nah, they Lanors," and Rhaenys is like,
Mm.
"That nigga was gay."
Good to know. Yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and the Lenore who is not dead, who's just missing, and who I would
Mhm.
imagine is going to make an Obama-like comeback here
I really hope
momentarily.
that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
But
but go ahead.
yes, so they're eventually going to claim dragons. I think I know what dragons they claim off the top of my head, but I'm not going to say it yet.
Hmm.
And they have very long plots of helping throughout the Dance with the Dragons. So that's who they are. That's why they're introducing them. I like
Okay.
what they did with Hugh, though. Knowing how his story ends, how they've introduced him is really good.
Well, I said that it's just
Hmm.
well, again for the uninitiated, like okay, it's just a random scene and a 1 hour show that you're like, what? Okay, who are these people?
The
Because again,
Randalls.
like one of the reasons that a lot of people bailed on Game of Thrones, and one of the people I'm speaking about is your mother, that just too many characters, too many names. I can't keep
Yeah.
all this shit together. Like I'm like, and
Nope.
I agree with you. But as the seasons went on, it started to focus on like your core groups of folks.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's also a show that you can't have your phone out to watch either. Like you got to be
Yeah, you
focused, like really, like to be paying attention to all these names and stuff. So like I think that it's a two-part thing. It's like yeah, okay, like I got that part, but man, again, knowing that it's such a short season, you got to pay some of this off. You can't be like, oh yeah, in season 3 this is gonna happen with this person. Wait, what? I can't figure this out now if I even want to finish season 2. So all
Yeah.
right, okay, all right. The White Worm, she clears her conscience, y'all. So back at Dragonstone after Damon has left, Alcid calls for the White Worm. Is that her name, the White Worm? I don't know why I keep
Her
calling her that.
name is Missaria, but her
Mastaria.
moniker,
Yes.
her superhero name,
Nom de plume is
no,
the
I
White
don't know,
Worm.
but yes.
Nice. Okay. Well, she calls it from the dungeon. Essentially, be like, what did you know about this? I know you used to fucking too. And she's like, I just gave him the information because he said he would let me out of jail. That's pretty much it.
And
Anything
she,
after that, I
yeah,
don't know. Go ahead.
and she implores Rhaenyra to bring her out of jail. What I actually got from this scene is like, because she said that she's like, oh, you remember me now because episode 2 they have where Rhaenyra comes to get the dragon egg back from Daemon after he takes it when he decides he wants to be a mad boy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like she comes and like she sees him and she sees Massaria there, but it was 20 years ago. So she's kind of looking at her. She's like, "Who are you?" Because she knows she's like technically like a poor. So it's like,
Yeah.
why was my husband keeping you in a dungeon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Womp womp. Yes.
womp,
So
womp.
she puts the people there, gets him his freedom or whatever. She frees her coming up here momentarily. But I think they see a little bit of each other in themselves or whatever, not just their common relationship with Damon, just,
Mhm.
I think there's a little bit of a connection there between the two of them. The White Worm, as this is going to be explained here momentarily, obviously feels something for her because she's going to make a decision that's going to affect how the rest of this episode ends.
I agree.
So yeah, there's something there. I imagine that she's going to make an appearance moving forward here, maybe as being some version or a part of Team Green or Team Black.
She's Team Black. Yeah, she
Yeah.
eventually becomes the. It's gonna happen in the series.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
The mistress of whispers.
All right. So the only king worse than you is Burger King. So before Otto goes there back to the king's quarters to see Aegon,
Mhm.
he finds out and he sees in the streets that the rat catchers have been all hung in public for everybody to see. So there's wailing and screaming in the streets by all these people seeing it, and he's super pissed, like because he wasn't consulted. Aegon did it out on his own, and he calls him every name that he could possibly call him: an idiot, stupid,
Impertinent pup.
foolish, whatever. Like, and Aegon's like, fuck that. I want blood, man. I put the quote in there because I wish to spill blood, not ink. Like, he
Yeah, that's a
doesn't
that's
want.
a book one too.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to do all of this diplomatic stuff. Like, blood has been spilled. We need to spill blood in return for that. And Otto, again, we need to be calm. We need to be patient. Like, all the sympathy that we got by holding that funeral, you just freaking swung it back the other way by being impulsive and by hanging all these dudes in the streets.
Mhm.
Like, we were trying to get the common folks together, and you just went out and hung a whole bunch of common folk. What the fuck? And so they get into this. I would call it an
Huge
argument.
row, yeah.
Yeah, but it's really just Otto reading him for filth, and Aegon getting mad that he's getting called like an asshole, an idiot, and every other name. And he's
And
like,
Kristen's like, watch how you speak to your king.
yes,
And Otto
that's my
goes, the
grandson. Fool.
king is my grandson, and my
Yeah,
grandson is a fool.
yeah,
All I have to say is welcome back, Tywin Lannister. It was
yeah,
giving, the king is tired. Send him to his rooms without his supper.
yeah. It
Like,
was
it
bad.
was, it was very Tywin-y. And
Yeah,
also,
it
can
was
we talk about how much of a moron Aegon is? He had blood in the dungeons. If he wanted to identify the rat catcher, he just didn't have to kill Blood.
right.
He could have had all the rat catchers there, had one point of them, and then wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. You're done.
Yes, because it wasn't like Blood was going to be like, no, I got honor. I'm not going to sell him out. Like, he
Now,
was
he
ready
would
to
have taken
go.
a plea before.
He had
He didn't
already
kill
named
him.
him. He had already named him. I thought maybe
He
he
said he
didn't now.
didn't know his true name, yeah.
Yeah, so whatever. So Aegon then tells Otto his plan, Sir Criston's plan.
He
The
dry heaved. He literally
Yeah,
just goes,
and that sends him even more over the edge. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
he was tweaking.
He was done. He was like, you're an idiot. Like, this is not going to help our cause at all whatsoever.
He was wishing he sided with Rhaenyra.
Yep. And then Aegon pulls the trump card that he has. Like, oh, you know what? You're a shitty hand. You're a shitty grandfather. You're a shitty
Mhm.
father. Everything that I'm not Viserys. Like, I'm not him. And he's like, yeah, I know you're not him because you suck.
And
And
my favorite was like, he made me king. Is
yeah,
that what you think?
yeah, really?
He
That's
killed
what
his
you said?
self-esteem in 5 seconds.
Yeah, it is bad. And
All hail Otto Hightower.
so he's like, you know what? That's it. I'm done. You're not hand of the king anymore. It's Sir Criston. And Kristen's like, oh fuck, I don't want this fucking job. I'm an idiot too. Did you
I
not
like my
know?
hair looking brown for 20
Yeah.
years.
Oh my god. He's like, I'm an idiot. You have no idea how big of an idiot that I am. So that's it. Otto dips. He throws that, the thing and the hands of the king little symbol. He throws it at him, and then man, Otto's out. And we're gonna come back to him at the end here. But yeah, I thought this was a really good scene. I thought, we don't really get to see Otto do much
Break.
acting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's used, whoa, we playing the book, all
Yeah.
that, but you don't get to see the actor actually emote, and he emoted the hell out of this scene. I thought
Oh
that
yeah,
was
no,
really
he did a
cool.
great job.
Yeah,
Race Ifens, or whatever the heck his last name is.
yeah.
He's
No, I
so
thought
Irish
he,
that I can't pronounce it.
yeah,
But
I
yeah.
thought he did a really good job. That's good. And again, everybody knows that Aegon's not up to this job. Everybody, and they've just been trying to manage him through it. But this event of his kid dying, which can make sense, sent him over the edge, and
I
so
feel
now
like
he's
he
become
didn't care about that
unmanageable.
dang kid. Not
Yeah,
until season 2, episode 1. Like, he didn't acknowledge Helena. He didn't acknowledge those kids in season 1. Like, I don't really think he cared much about them. And it's like he goes into that thing. He's like, my son is heir to the Iron Throne, and he is my legacy. It's more like
mhm.
I lost something. Technically, he has 2 sons in the book,
We're getting to
but
that.
in this, he not that one. I'm talking about
Oh,
Aegon.
sorry.
Uh, he has 2 sons in the book. The other one's name is Maelor.
Okay.
So when Jaehaerys died, it wasn't necessarily a big. I mean, it was a big issue, but it wasn't a big issue because the king still had a male heir to the Iron Throne.
Hmm.
His only living child now is a daughter. You can't put
Yeah.
a daughter on the Iron Throne because his whole point of his usurping was
Yeah.
because a woman couldn't sit the freaking Iron Throne, so that completely
Yeah.
invalidates
Well,
his
yeah,
point.
there's no show if that were the case at this point.
So
Right.
I like he didn't really go crying in there. It's like I lost my kid, I
Hmm.
lost my
My
legacy,
legacy.
I lost my heir, I lost my upper hand.
Right. Okay. But yeah, I thought
That
this
was
was
my
a great.
interpretation of it, even though I think the rest of the internet lacks a very high quality of media literacy.
Well, they only read on a sixth grade level. So,
Don't
all right.
Oh,
So
this made me want to cry.
Erryk versus Erryk, y'all. So as Sir Erryk is making his way into Dragonstone, he is seen by the White Roof. Mysaria sees him and clocks him, and then he really make the security at Dragonstone kind of lacking. I was like,
It's
oh, they're twins or
landing.
whatever, but nobody could have figured this out. Like he goes all throughout the castle to wind up getting to the queen's suite. Like I mean, he's
I
all
mean,
through there.
they are quite literally identical, and he did make it kind of a point of finding out where Erryk is and sending him to their place. Those two are identical, and the cool thing is they have like this isn't a Dove Cameron thing where she played both parts in Liv and
Yeah.
Maddie.
Hmm.
This is two people. These
Hmm.
are actually two identical twins that they casted, and it's like the thing behind the scenes is like that they would parent swap on set.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
like you kind of never knew which one was which unless they
Right.
were kind of like directly in front of you.
Wow.
So
Okay.
those two, they're legitimately identical. So I do see where the mix-up happened. Like you see it in the freaking fight scene. They're like which one's Erryk, bro?
Wow.
Who do I kill?
Well, when Sir Erryk A makes his way into the Queen's chambers, he gives the lines like, I assure you, I didn't really have a choice in doing this. And then, brother. And then Sir Erryk E comes in, and we get the battle between the two of them. They obviously are familiar with each other's games, not going to surprise anybody with their sword play or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, when Sir Erryk E gets the
Mm-hmm.
drop on his brother, he stabs him or swords him. I don't know what word you want to use
Yeah,
there, through there,
yes.
and kills him. And it's a short-lived win though, because once he turns to Rhaenyra, he's like, "I'm sorry," and he falls on the sword himself and kills himself.
Yeah,
And that's it. And and if you saw the next episode or whatever, you see the both of them, in a Potter's grave, together. So that's actually going to be an issue for the next episode. But as far as battles go, this is where we miss, Grand Maester Beavis or whatever. As far as battles go, it was super kind of tame. We saw much better sword play and fights, even in armor in Game of Thrones. And
Yeah.
this is where I was saying where I'm starting to see a pattern where they're taking like the last 5, 6, and then last episode 10 minutes of like, okay, so there's going to be this real big thing that's going to happen
Mhm.
in the last 5, 6, 7, 10 minutes of the show. So you need to pay attention to that. I mean, again, like on his spot, for camera angles or whatever, or camera people that watch the show, TV production, they're doing like a static one shot where they're following him from behind, on the camera, whatever. So it's like, it's making you focus on the scene because there's not a whole lot going on. And then by the time they get there together, obviously, yes. But the battle is kind of, I mean, it's kind of weak. I thought I didn't really think it was anything major,
I
just
think the concept of that would be that they're holding back
because they're
Erryk.
brothers.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think Erryk kind of like, if I could subdue, it's kind of a thing where it's like, I'd rather shoot you in the leg than shoot you in the chest.
Yeah.
But like, I do understand what you're saying, but I do think that kind of held back from the thing. And when he realized his brother wouldn't stop, save his
Hmm.
own honor, he kind of realized that to defend his own honor, he had to kill his brother
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
end up hurting himself. This is a 100% book accurate moment.
Oh, okay.
100% book accurate. I have not
Hmm.
been able to say that about anything in this show. I've
Hmm.
only ever said that in Game of Thrones.
Hmm.
Um, it's a very sad thing. It's just it's a very sad thing that kind of happens. Again, Ser Criston does it. Aegon, after Criston Cole is named Hand of the King, that he orders Ser Criston to enact some sort of revenge on Rhaenyra for blood and cheese, and that's what
Hmm.
this is.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. So book wise, he would have became Hands before he sent Erryk with an A.
Okay.
So that would kind of be how it was in the book. So it makes a little bit more sense. It's less Cole having that kind of like, he's Lord Commander of the King's Guard. He commands the King's Guard, the King's
Right.
Guard. So if the King gives the orders, you tell them what to do.
Right.
So it gave Criston a power that I don't like because he completely and utterly abused it, and he's going to completely and utterly abuse his power as Hand because he's a freaking, I don't
He's
know,
an
he got these like brown doe eyes, but he is Satan. Like
but he's an idiot too. Like he's not smart. Like how
he's
do you
brazen.
think
I
that you?
think the word Otto uses for him is he's brazen.
Yeah, if you're gonna sleep with the freaking king's mother and think that you're gonna be able to get away for that for long in this environment, like it's just dumb. Like oh my god, like
But
an
yeah,
idiot, an idiot. All right. So yeah, he falls in the sword. I love you, and then he, stabs
another important
her.
plot point here is Alinda Massey. It's the maid that's helping Rhaenyra essentially get ready
Mhm.
for bed. She's seen in all the episodes
Yeah,
post
she
time
is.
jump of season 1. She's there when Rhaenyra gives birth in episode 10, rather
Mhm.
violently. Had to mention that for the Grand Maester. But
Yeah.
she will eventually become an important character. She has like a whole freaking thing in the trailer for season 2, but not in the next episode.
Okay.
I actually have to refresh my book knowledge on that because I have no idea because her name completely went over my head, and then I saw someone on TikTok talking about it.
Hmm.
She's important. She's very loyal to Rhaenyra. She's I think probably maybe 10 years younger than her, but she's been in Rhaenyra's service essentially all of her life,
Right.
and has a very strong loyalty to her.
Mm.
But this was a sad thing. Seeing them get buried together is also pretty
Yeah,
sad.
that's gonna be rough next week or
Yeah,
tomorrow. Okay. All right.
next week, tomorrow.
Yeah, next week tomorrow. Otto's out. Peace. I'm gone. But he talks with his daughter. It's like, he's going to Old Town. They name drop Allison's other son, Darren. That's what I
Daron
think.
Targaryen. Ugh,
Yeah,
I need to talk about Daron, but we'll do
yeah.
that in a second.
Well, yeah, it's going to come up, obviously. She thinks she can talk some sense into Aegon. I'm like, so she goes to see him, and he's a wreck, man. Holy shit. Like, he's
Kid's dead.
absolutely out of it. Yeah, I understood. Again, that's how you could and should be. There's no way that you can start to perform these duties that you're supposed to
Even
have when that
Cersei cried
happens.
when her kids died.
Yeah, like I mean, that's not something that you're supposed, and again, he's young as it is. I mean, it's just that's exactly it. So instead of going to comfort her son and be like, you know what, son, we can get through this together. I'm hurt too. Blah blah blah. No,
Her
let me
boo.
go and screw my boo. And that's what she goes and does. She tries to say she's gonna fight him, but it's really just a kink at this point. It's a freaking shame kink, whatever the fuck it
No,
is.
they tried to do like the classic, like the "I'm so mad at you, but I love you" thing, but it just didn't.
Yeah,
It
whatever.
doesn't work with these two because I
Well,
truly believe that there is no genuine love between them. I think there is some sort of a mutual hate for Rhaenyra, and as a
yeah.
teenage girl, I will tell you that there is no more of a bonding force than two people who mutually hate the same person.
Mm, fair.
And kind of this old like childhood infatuation she had with them. A lot of fans refuse to accept it because it kind of goes against the
She got
narrative
groomed.
of like a sapphic Alicent, which is what a lot of
Yeah,
people wanted,
she's
and which
groomed.
ironically makes a bit more sense.
Yeah.
But like it's in the first
Well,
episode, like when he comes up to the podium when she's with Rhaenyra, she's like, "Oh my gosh, he's gorgeous." You see her kind of
mhm,
staring at him and the stuff. Like it's there,
yeah. But
but it's like it's not. And then it's like, ooh, I forgot about this. It alleged, well, actually, it is a deleted scene. I don't know what episode it was supposed to be in, but their relationship was in season one. They had a sex scene that got deleted.
I did see that on the internet.
And
Yeah.
I believe the theory is it was in season one, episode 6 or 7, the episode where Aemon gets his eye taken out. And
Mm-hmm.
there and Viserys is like, "Where were you, Sir Criston?"
Mm-hmm.
"I had the Night's Watch with the Queen."
He was out in our bed with Troy. Yeah.
Like it's there. I don't know why people are in such denial about it. It was 100% there.
I'm fine with that part of it. It's just, it's again in a Game of Thrones situation, you can't be sleeping with the queen and expect that this is going to go over well. Like it's just not. Even
Yeah,
though
I knew
again
they were
her
going to find
husband's
out about that.
dead, like and all that stuff, but that's just not going to go over well.
But
Um,
he's a member of the Kingsguard. He is.
yeah,
Same thing with the Night's Watch. They are vowed to chastity.
yeah,
Well, technically, they are not vowed to chastity. They're like, "I will father no children, and
yeah,
I will not marry. I didn't
yeah.
say I couldn't have sex."
I couldn't bang. Uh,
It's a like a moral gray area type of
Semantic.
thing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
semantic.
I mean,
Like,
Jamie did it.
all right, and I'm gonna go off and go on this part here too about you're like, oh well, between the two of them, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I don't like
Like,
them.
Olivia Cook, not great acting here. Not in this scene. I'm talking about just in general. Like well, okay, I'll tell this story or whatever.
Mhm.
Like before this premiered or whatever, she was was in some magazine or whatever doing a photo shoot for that. She's dressed in like regular clothes or trying to look sexy or whatever. And like I looked at the pictures and I was like, they're like, oh, she's on House of the Dragon. I'm like, who the fuck is that? Like I didn't even know who it was,
Yeah,
because obviously wasn't in
yeah,
this stuff. And she was giving like sexy and sultry and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, looking at her, I was like, man, she's giving none of that in that show. Like none of it. Like we don't get
yeah.
any of like not the sexy and sultry part, but like giving like, hey, I'm this freaking 30-plus-year-old queen who's been through all of this stuff. Everything. I mean, she's in a sense a little much. I mean, maybe that's the genius of it that I'm missing. Maybe she's just too much like her father.
She's a
You
prude. Is
know, you know what I mean. But maybe she's too much like her father in that sense. But she's not. It doesn't give much, and like she's in a power position here, and she doesn't really like. We don't ever really see it,
She
and I
has
think
the
that's a
very
problem.
purposeful intent to do the Cersei thing and completely abuse the power. That would
Hmm.
be the Cersei thing to do, 1000%. She
Yeah.
kind of operates more. Oh, I hate making this comparison. She operates very much so on what I would call like a very Christian perspective.
Yeah.
Like she's always in the steps, she's always praying. That girl at church.
Yeah.
Like
But
she
she's
kind
always
of gives
also
the
sinning.
yeah, she gives a bit more of the Christian perspective, but I think it's also like a big part of her character is having been essentially doing a duty since she was
Mm.
probably about 15.
Yeah.
So anything outside of that feels very wrong in a sense.
Yeah. So just guilt. Madonna whore.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the Madonna horror complex, which is the thing she wanted to. It's the picture she paints of Rhaenyra,
Right.
essentially. I think in her head.
Okay.
But yeah, I
So
do have
that's
to talk. I must
go
talk
ahead.
about Dan.
Go. You got a couple minutes. We're trying to come in under an hour. I said 30 minutes, and we're still at
Yeah,
54
well,
minutes. Go
I
ahead.
must. Yeah, okay. So Daeron Targaryen is the youngest son of King Viserys and Queen Alicent. If House of the Dragon had done what I thought it was going to do and made the fifth episode part of it Laenor and Rhaenyra's wedding, and then do like a little week long, a couple months long time jump, and then showcase the relationship between her and Harwin Strong
Mm.
and Rhaenyra's first pregnancy and the birth of Prince Jacaerys Valerian, which they should have done, which would build up like the suspense of the bastards, the infidelity,
Mm.
the that. And then in episode 6, kind of the time jump, it would have made more sense, so you wouldn't have been introduced to new ideas, but they didn't do that because I'm not in the writer's room, Ryan Condal is. But he, Jacaerys, Jace, her oldest son, the Prince of
Stepping away
Dragons.
to stepping away to charge. Hold on.
Okay.
Keep talking.
Hey, people. So Jacaerys, the same is the literal exact same age as Daron. So Alicent and Rhaenyra were pregnant at the exact same time, and they gave birth around the exact same time as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they were milk brothers, is the term in the book that King Viserys, like, he ordered them to like be fed by the same wet nurse so that they would maybe
Yeah.
to feud to make sure there was no animosity. What the hell is that word? To make sure there was no feud between them. That didn't work. But yeah, him and Jake's are the same age.
Mm.
And he is the favorite of the small folk in the book. He's the favorite one. He's nicer, he's gentler. But I think book Jace would probably be about 14 or 15 right now. But
Okay.
I probably 17 in the show. They probably aged him up.
Mm-hmm.
So Daron would be about the same age. But he has been, I don't know if he was a squire, if they just sent him there. I don't know why the hell they sent him away.
Yeah.
There was no reason that they sent him away. They better have a good damn reason in the show. It's like, why would you do that? But
And, and again, because of it's the same error thing, because of the time jumps and all that stuff. Like oh no, you got a whole ass grown child that we haven't talked about for the last 30
yeah,
seconds.
he's literally Jace's age. Like,
That's what I'm
he
saying.
got
Like
a whole ass dragon.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you.
That the 5th episode of that show should not have been all surrounding Laenor and Rhaenyra's wedding, killing off Coral Corbry,
And the dance.
God help us all. But it should have, like, the wedding should have been like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone here has seen Game of Thrones. We don't need to see any more weddings. We're good.
Right.
They should have shown Rhaenyra and her relationship with Harwin. They should have shown Jace's birth, because you would have gotten to introduce Daron indirectly, so they know he exists, because people that don't read the books don't know there's a 4th kid here.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly thought they weren't going to introduce him. I didn't think Daron Targaryen was going to be a thing.
Wow. Okay.
And I could have lived
all right. Okay. That's it, y'all. We got it in under an hour. Episode 2. We will post it and roll right into it. If you want to just listen to the recap. Maybe you missed episode 2. Hey, you just listen to our recap and roll straight into episode 3. But that's where we are, y'all. So we'll be back for episode 3. We'll get the Grand Maester back on as well, so we can, kind of have the full crew. Not sure that he's enjoying the show. He might be taking a break because he might enjoy not watching this show, but we'll get him back on, or force, the Hutchmeister back on too, to figure it out. But we'll go from there. So we'll wrap this up here. I'm the producer. I'm signing off. Go ahead and sign off, Lady Dragonstone.
Lady Dragonstone is out on Dragon.
Out.
And
That's
we'll
it.
be back the next time we do this.
Yeah, we'll be back, y'all. Peace.